Hey, what's up, guys? I'm Steve the Book Guy, and today I'm going to talk a little bit about beating the book scanners. What is a book scanner? A book scanner is a person that will go in there with their phone or some sort of device. You've seen them in thrift stores, you've seen them in book fairs, you see them at the Goodwill bins, and they grab books with barcodes and they scan the back of them. And if you're on YouTube, you see videos and ads about teaching people how to do this. And what it does is it sends that barcode scan into an app that tells them whether or not that book is sellable on Amazon. Before we go any further, let me be real clear. Our motto here is no book left behind. And I want to, I love you guys. I love the book scanners. I'm talking to you. I'm not mad at you. I don't dislike you. I work very well with the scanners at our Goodwill bins. You guys are great. You guys keep books out of the trash. I will never, ever say a bad word about you guys. I actually really do appreciate it. No bullshit. However, in the spirit of friendly competition, I'm going to equip book people on how to get the things that you folks are leaving behind. So anyway, so don't be mad at me. But back to the book people. I'm going to teach you how to find the stuff that those folks are leaving behind. So stick with me. We'll go through about 10 or so. All right, let's get right into it. The first thing to understand about book scanners is that they literally scan books, which I know you guys have seen. I'm not telling you anything you don't know. They're pulling out, in the thrift store shelf, they're pulling out the thing, beep, beep, beep. If they're at the bins, they're pulling out in carts and beeping them all at the end. That is their source of information. Generally, there's exceptions to the rule, but generally are not really in it because they necessarily love or know a lot about books. They have either learned on YouTube or however to this is a good way to make money. And again, I am not disparaging anybody who makes a living this way. I appreciate you finding the books and keeping them out of the trash. That is in fact the goal. But the problem is when you're only scanning barcodes, you are in fact leaving a lot of books behind. And what should be the most obvious are books without barcodes. Right? It seems almost so simple that I shouldn't even say it out loud, but it's very important. There is a lot of really good old books. Do not sleep on them. You have your classics, you have thrillers that were written in the 70s, 80s, you have old school horror, anything that doesn't have a barcode. So if I see scanners, I'm generally going to head towards the older stuff. I'm probably going to start there first because I know that's probably unpicked. Do you know what I'm saying? Or if I'm looking for a gem or I'm looking for something special, that's where I'm going to go. Does that make sense? That is probably going to be your freshest, most unpicked, treasure-laden area if you walk into a place and you do see a bunch of scanners already, because their whole process, their whole business model really falls apart once they have to slow down and either look up by the covers, which they can do that. They can, photograph the front cover and they'll get information that way. Not quite as easy or as fast, and speed is the name of the game. So that's a good trick. Just don't fight them. Just, if they zig, you zag. Just go the other direction. If I go to a book fair, we have a big one in St. Charles here. I'm generally not going to the middle section where all the new stuff is. I'm going right to the old stuff. So that's the first tip. Paperbacks. They generally, even though a lot of paperbacks do have barcodes, they generally won't mess with the paperbacks. Not new ones, not old ones. For whatever reason, they don't think there's as much value, or if they have only a certain amount of time to scan the books, they're prioritizing the hardcovers and things like that. So they generally leave the paperbacks behind, which of course, if you're a book person, you know how big of a mistake that actually is. Because we have stuff like Rage by Bachman, which is Stephen King's pen name, that's like thousands of dollars. You have limited edition paperback prints. You have paperbacks from hell, which are a hugely collectible genre of paperbacks. So again, if you see the scanners, they're generally going to stick with the barcode hardcovers. They're looking for like textbooks and things like that they know have a higher probability of turning over more value. But again, that's not the totality of book value. That's just a bit off the top. So do look through those paperbacks. older sci-fi is really good. Fantasy sci-fi is really cool. Anything off the beaten path, they're leaving it all behind. Choose Your Own Adventure books, Goosebumps. These are all paperbacks. Some Goosebumps are hundreds of dollars. And again, and a barcode is not going to give you that information. They're not going to necessarily give you edition information, collectability information. There's some things you really do just have to know. But again, if I'm not Steve the Book Guy, I see scanners and the old stuff is not necessarily available. My next step might be the vintage paperbacks or even just the paperbacks as well. And while I'm at it, kid paperbacks are also this is where you're going to find the Goosebumps and things like that. So do not sleep on paperbacks. It's worth scanning and eyeballing those shelves real quick. Good tip. Probably my next tip that the scanners really just aren't aware of that you can find that they'll leave behind. Is another type of book that doesn't have a barcode, and it's called an Advanced Reader's Edition or an Uncorrected Proof. And what these are, these predate the first edition of a book and are sent to proofers in advanced, meaning early, not necessarily advanced per se, readers so they can give feedback, focus groups, that kind of thing. Raise interest, get bookstores involved. All that kind of stuff. These things are insanely collectible if you can find the right one. And I promise you that the scanners, they generally don't have barcodes, so they're not doing anything with them. They might pick them up, but because it's a paperback, generally it's a paperback, they're gonna throw it back in the bin. And just to kind of give you an example why this is important, all books are worth saving, obviously, but there's like Sarah Moss, for example, Court of Thorns and Roses. Her Advanced Reader's Edition is like $2,500. They're no joke. You find the right one with the title, because you have to understand when the Advanced Reader's Edition or the Uncorrected Proof came out, no one knew that book would be a success. That's like picking up a Harry Potter book before, the first one in the UK where it's named Philosopher's Stone before. And Harry Potter wasn't big then. You were just picking up a random book. Fast forward 10, 15 years later, they get super popular. The Advanced Reader's Editions, the first prints, all that stuff, that the story that led up to where it is, the big zeitgeist thing that it is now, people collect the snot out of that stuff and they will pay up because there hardly any exist. And when they do exist, they hardly ever get to the secondhand market. So, Advanced Readers Edition, you'll sometimes see them as called ARCs, and then Uncorrected Proofs. The Uncorrected Proofs actually predate the Advanced Readers Edition, but so don't sleep on those. They'll look weird when you pick them up. Sometimes they have alternate art. They'll have a date on it. It'll say being released in or published by, and then on the inside we'll have like marketing materials. You'll know it when you see it, but you may not be aware that they exist, so you may not know to be looking for it. And now you know. I got you, boo. For the next tip, earlier I said speed is the name of the game, so the next couple of tips are all going to be about being able to parse information faster. Learn publishers, like know what certain publishers have a tendency to print, especially knowing like what smaller publishers might be, because sometimes if you're looking for something that's a little off the beaten path, part of being off the beaten path is that you may not be aware of it, but sometimes being aware of an obscure publisher, or a publisher that does kind of like weird, maybe say occult stuff, for example, or romantasy stuff, or like Bloom is a wonderful example. They always do, people always want the Bloom books. They do like romancy type stuff. It's really nice. Really cute covers too. But anyway, but that would be a thing to keep in mind as you're parsing the bookshelves, and you're trying to get ahead of the scanners and just trying to you're like a little detective trying to give yourself clues on what you might have in front of you, like instantly. You want to just know. And when you're on site and you're racing against these guys, you want to already know as best you can. And if you can't know, you want to be able to parse as many of the clues as possible. A publisher is always good, and then also genres of books, and knows what sells really well, like vintage cookbooks, for example. The older ones, the 5-ring binders. Pro tip on those: make sure open it up, make sure that first page is in there. Those things are always ripped out. Those go for like 20, 25 bucks a piece. They'll leave those behind all of the time. Pretty much all vintage cookbooks they'll leave behind because, again, no barcode, and those are super collectible. Going on with the subject matter, really eclectic, specific things, like, you know, in math, you know, logarithmic functions, that's a boring title. But logarithmic functions being able to predict the blah, blah, blah breeding pattern of, you know, something like crazy ultra specific, you might want to grab that one and at least look it up. The more specific and like more you've not heard of it, that's like a trigger to check, and that could be a good clue for you to spend a bit more time on that one than anything else. The more specific the topic, generally the lower print it is. And so hunting has a lot of stuff like that. Guns and firearms books and related materials usually have a lot of really specific niche information that people will are looking for and will pay up for, because there's just not that many of them. And the thing is that these are the types of stuff that a lot of times the scanners will leave behind, and it's important for us to go behind them at least and pick up the stuff that they don't leave behind, because they're leaving a lot. And this is all that kind of stuff. Old occult stuff, religious stuff, are all super collectible, those kind of genres, and they won't have barcodes. Bibles specifically, even contemporary Bibles without barcodes, they'll leave those behind because they can't scan them. But especially if they're new and good condition, not highlighted, dedication page not filled out, all that stuff, it's worth looking up. People will pay up for collectible Bibles and very specific genres of Bible, like apologetics Bibles, or there's a type of Bible called an archaeological Bible. There's a rainbow study Bible, which uses this really neat color thing, and those people will pay up for those because they're nicer. You know, the more things it's got on the spine, as far as Bibles go, it's generally the better you're going to be. So just kind of knowing a little bit about what people actually collect really can broaden your horizons beyond just what the barcode will tell you. And that's why there's a difference between like book people and book scanners. And again, I'm not dogging scanners. I appreciate the effort, and you guys absolutely can make a living as well and all that, and I encourage you. But do use these tips, guys, to go up behind these scanner folks and pick up all the stuff that they're leaving behind. You made it to the end of this. God love you. I've been wanting to create YouTube videos for a long time. I kind of try every now and then. But 2026 is going to be the year. You're going to see my face quite a bit. Do follow, subscribe, all that jazz. We're going to talk about books. We're going to do author showcases. We're going to give you more tips and tricks. I will get better at this as time goes on. I do not have scripts. This is all off the cuff. I'm a Whatnot store streamer. I have a bookstore on Whatnot. Please join us over there. We do book auctions every week, couple of times a week, to be fair. We'll flip through books over there. It's like Twitch, kind of. So thank you. And if you have any suggestions or things that you think that would help you, information that I could provide, feel free to throw it in the comments. I'm here to help. Rising tides raise all ships, and the goal is to get all these books into people's hands, because I really, really do believe that the only way to fix the place that we are in society is if we get as many people reading about as many different perspectives, about as many different things as possible, and saving the books, making them accessible, making them cheap is absolutely the best way to do that. So no book left behind. There's my wife. Until next time.